Hello guys, in this video I'm going to do some work and show you how to upgrade this Lenovo M91p little computer. Okay, quick rundown of its specs, although I'm not really sure what you can see here. It has a Windows 7 Pro license. It's an i3 2120 at 3.3 GHz. It has 2 slots of DDR3. It's laptop type memory. It only has 4 GB installed, and it has a 500 GB SATA hard drive. And that's about it. This one came without a charger. It actually uses a charger. It doesn't have an internal power supply, the standard type that you might think of. And let me show you its specs right here. Normally this thing needs 19.5 volts at 7.7 amps. That translates to 150 watts. Well, I couldn't really find a cheap enough and close enough to do this work today PSU, so I had to buy one that is a bit lower. You can see right there, 19.5 volts, 6.7 amps, so it's 1 amp lower. It's only 130 watts instead of 150. But this thing has an upgrade slot, so you could potentially install a GPU in this thing. I'm thinking this will never have a GPU. This is already planned for a certain person, and again they will never use a GPU. I'm thinking that this is 20 watts lower than this actually requires when it has a GPU in. Because it will never use a GPU, this should be way more than enough, because the GPU will potentially use even a little bit more than the 20 watts difference. So we are good to go. Now just another thing, if you are wondering, it does even have an integrated speaker. It's really tiny, and maybe you can see it right in there, which is pretty nice. Let's get rid of this annoying tape. If you're wondering what's up with that GPU right over there, it's not for this. Non fito, too bigo. So it's a huge GPU. In this thing you could potentially put only a small tiny GPU. I will show you that in a moment. So right about now let's try and open this thing up and see what we get inside. Okay, so to open this little guy up, you have a latch right here on the back. You need to pull on it like this to a side. It actually is stuck now. I don't really understand why. That's a bit weird. It might not be actually latched in place. Okay, now it's allowing me to unlatch it. It was not properly closed actually before. This needs to go like this. So if yours is doing the same thing, it means it was not in place to begin with. Okay. As you can see, it's starting to open up. The problem is the top side it's heavier than the bottom side. So if you try to let it stay on the bottom side where it actually has the little feet, it will topple over. So I found it's better to turn it on its back and open it up like this. Dust bunnies or fluffs or whatever they are called. And we are actually in. As you can see, standard hard drive size, so they could have spared a little bit of weight and room with a smaller hard drive, but these hard drives are faster. Of course you can go for an even faster SSD, but at least the hard drive is faster than a laptop one. Let me even turn this on its side. Maybe you can see a little bit better in here. Okay, let's poke around. We do have here an optional Sata port. Hope you can see it there. So potentially you can actually even add another drive. Now I'm thinking, from what I see here, there isn't really a predetermined space for a second hard drive. So if you are planning to add an SATA hard drive, first thing, you need another SATA power connector. Let me just show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so we have one SATA, two SATA devices. We want to add a third SATA device. So we need 3 power connectors, but we only have 2. Where here comes something like this. This is a Y cable. Normally you input power here and it outputs 2 of the same connector. This one is actually a kind of adapter, converter, whatever you want to call it, from Molex to SATA. You are not going to get exactly this. You need an SATA input and 2 SATA power outputs. Why SATA cable? And you will find lots of them online. So this is what you will actually need to add an SSD. And I've looked a little bit inside of it, and if you are not going to put an GPU right here, you can actually use double-sided tape to put your SSD in this area, because it doesn't seem to interfere with anything. This is not that close to here. You have about this distance between them. But even though I'm telling you this, when you put the SSD there with double-sided tape, close it slowly and make sure it doesn't touch. Because I don't really know, maybe not all these cases are 100% identical to mine, but in my situation I could put an SSD in there. And actually, let me just try and do it like this. Okay, we have an SSD here. Let's close the case and see what we actually get. Nope. So as you can see, I was actually wrong. So it's good that I tested this. I'm thinking this is thicker than a standard SSD. You can see this about 1 mil, maybe 1.5. No, this is not 1 mil. This is 2 millimeters for sure. Maybe without this, a standard SSD would fit, but mine is thicker. I have no clue why it is like this. This is how I bought it. So let's test another possible position for the SSD. This would be not 100% ideal. You do not really want it on top of a hard drive, but it should work without issues as long as it actually does fit. And it does. So you can put an SSD in this thing on top of your hard drive. And again, it's not unlocking because it's not properly locked probably to begin with. Yes, that was it. So double-sided tape comes to your help. You just need a splitter and another SATA cable, and you can stick your SSD on top of this. If it's thinner, I think you can even put it here somehow like this. In my opinion, this would be the ideal situation, but it depends to you and your particular thickness of SSD. This is really thick. I don't know why it's like this, but yeah, whatever. Okay, as for GPUs, obviously, if I actually do have this around, yeah, so yeah, You can understand there is no chance in hell to use one of those. Obviously this can't really provide too much power, so only tiny GPUs can be used. This is not a GPU, this is some SCSI whatever. It needs to be low profile, so the bracket needs to be only up until here and have a bend here, so this is too long for this situation. But a GPU of this general size, it's a low profile, this is the name for a small GPU like this, will fit. But keep in mind, this is not a PCI Express slot. This is old style PCI slot. So obviously you will need to search a little bit online until you find the card with 512 megs, 1 gigabyte if you are lucky of memory. Most of them are really small, 32 megs, 138 megs, so yeah. But you can add a GPU to this thing. Let me just try and show you one. I think I have one in an ad. Okay, couldn't find the original ad, but found another one. This is somewhere at $30–35. And this thing is PCI. You can see the notch, the second one right there. This is the old style PCI, and this GPU has 1 gigabyte of memory and has an HDMI output and a DVI output, and this VGA can be removed, and as you can see it has a low profile bracket. So a GPU like this doesn't even have a cooler or need a cooler, can fit right in here and will work. And you can make a pretty nice HTPC from this thing. Okay, let's put my phone aside and continue. As for the memory, this is standard laptop memory, not really sure what you can actually see in here. Let's put this aside, don't need it anymore. You can unlock it, pull the metal tabs on the sides until they unlock. Actually they unlock pretty hard on this thing, so you need to pull on them a lot. And these are the specs of the memory. Basically, in my opinion, as long as it's DDR3, and this thing actually is low voltage DDR3, so this runs low voltage DDR3. As long as it's DDR3 and low voltage, this thing will see it. As for the maximum memory, I need to do some poking around as I'm not quite sure at this moment. Okay, after a bit of poking around, this seems to take two 4 GB sticks of low voltage DDR3 for laptops. So yeah, low voltage means that it runs at 1.35 volts and not at 1.5 volts as standard DDR3. So that's about it for the memory. As for the hard drive itself, let's see how we can take this thing out of here. You need to pull on these tabs, one on this side and one on the other side, and lift it from the middle. Obviously the cable will not allow me for this moment. Ideally you unplug the cables first, but it comes out about like this. And you can obviously remove the hard drive, because there are no screws, there are just some metal pins that go inside the screw holes on the hard drive, so you can clearly see that you can actually remove the hard drive fairly easily and without any tools. Put the new one in and just slide it back in place, which might be harder than it looks, but it actually might look quite hard, so yeah, could be exactly what you are seeing. Okay, and it's latched in place. that's about it. As for the CPU, it can also be upgraded. Obviously you need to take out the fan assembly first, then the heatsink, then unlock the CPU, put the new one in, put everything back together. But on this thing, an i3, good enough. I don't think it requires more than that as a Facebook, whatever, YouTube PC. Okay, closed it up, getting ready to start it. This is how the plug looks like. Okay, fits right in. Standard VGA, obviously, display port, 6 USB, network and audio. Let's turn this little thing around and give it a go. And it powered right up, and I didn't even connect the keyboard to it. But we do have image, so be back after I connect the keyboard. Okay, powered on, running perfectly. I'm going to do my usual BIOS tweaking, but everything seems fine up until now. Okay, this particular USB adapter plugs in perfectly in the front, but that particular USB drive that it's in the back now doesn't want to plug in here. I think it's just a little bit too thick or something, which is weird. It has never happened before, but it happened now. So let's select the USB drive. I will have another video where I show you to boot from whatever drive you want on this thing and how to enter the BIOS. That will be a separate video. And I'm going to put a clone of Windows 7 onto this thing, activate it, and then upgrade to Windows 10. But that will be done off camera, because at least copying Windows 7 to it, because it will take some time. Upgrading to Windows 10 I will actually show you. Okay, Windows 7 cloned to this computer, activated with the correct key for this particular system. 64-bit, because we have 4 GB of RAM and can be upgraded to 8. The CPU 3.3 GHz i3 2120. Still some missing drivers, but because I'm upgrading directly to Windows 10 I don't really care. Okay, Google Chrome is asking me a few things. And to upgrade to Windows 10 in 2018 it's still pretty simple. Just search for Media Creation Tool. Okay, first link, simply click on it. Okay, download the tool now. This is in Romanian, it found my location. Don't translate now. It's downloading it, and it will take some time because we are running from my trusty USB tiny dongle that doesn't get a really good signal in here. So be back when it's finished. While we are downloading, just wanted to add, this is working beautifully. It's not heating up at all. You can barely feel that it's powered on, and that's about it. So without a GPU, this thing, zero problems, do whatever you need. With a GPU, maybe it's better to get the 150 watts version. Okay, finished downloading. Click on it. Yes. Close this as it is no longer required. As you can see, I have pre-installed all my needed apps. And I'm just going to quickly change the user, because it's not going to be control panel. It's not going to be W7 anymore, it's going to be W10. Where are the users? Where are the users? User accounts. Account name. W10. Change name. Okay, we are done with the change. It's running some stuff in the background. Accept. Can't really talk today. Be back when anything interesting happens. Okay, we are presented with two options: to upgrade this PC directly to Windows 10 or to create an USB media, DVD or whatever to upgrade another PC. We want to upgrade this one now. Click next. And another thing, I need to go to control panel and create the second partition, because I'm only using 150 gigabytes of this 500 gigabytes hard drive at the moment. I didn't create the second partition, so yeah, that kind of needs to be done. New simple volume, next, next. Why are you not allowing me D? It's the optical drive. E. Let's see, change F, change to E, and this one can be D. Yes. Yeah, 120 we are using at the moment, sorry, not 150. But now we just created the second partition and all is well. So let's see about Windows 10. It started to download and this will take a while, so be back when it finishes and does something else. Okay, so this downloading was going really slow. You can see it right there, almost cannot see it actually, it's that slow. I had about 20 megabit connection, 30, 45 maximum megabit connection, and now I have 120 megabit connection and it's going strong. Way faster than it went before. And let me just show you what I needed to do. Turn on the light and move the camera. Don't mind my banged up wall. Yep. Now we have the tiny Wi-Fi put in here like an antenna. So it's acting like an antenna for itself. That is how bad the connection I have in here, and that is with a really powerful router. So yeah, thick concrete walls with lots of metal in them, not good for your Wi-Fi. Okay, next let's agree to the terms without reading them, as always. It's checking for some updates, always does that. Okay, all downloads finished. Click install. And we had some window in the background, I think. I saw something for a moment. Yes, Avira wanted an update later. And from this point on, it's fully automated, so you can go away, do your thing, because it will take a little bit of time, maybe hours in some cases. We are in the middle of the installation process. It will reboot a few times, so just let it do its thing. Nothing else you can do. Okay, the main part of the install is finished. Now we just want some quick settings, which I will not film because everybody does this in their particular way. And we are in. Let's close Edge to answer Microsoft account or something. I will remove some of these icons here, I always do. Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. Wait, what? Yeah, this was it. curious about the drivers themselves, if everything is installed already or it's still searching for some stuff. Apart from one driver, everything is installed. Yep, that's good, that's really good, way better than what Windows 7 could do. Let's force it to update also this driver. It might not find it, so I might need to install it myself. Yes. This is the last option. So Windows 10 is activated, everything good. Just need to find that one driver and then should be good to go. So to find the particular driver that we actually need, right click on the device properties. Normally it starts here, but then you go to details, you go to hardware IDs and search for this 8086 in our case for vendor, and device in our case is 1C3D. And if you search for that, in my particular situation, the first link, somebody already needed this driver for Windows 10, and he got an answer from HP in this case. Doesn't really matter for us that this is the particular driver. So yeah, I should connect to Wi-Fi first. I don't know why it just disconnected me, that is weird. And I will download this and install it. And I'm doing this cleanup to remove everything left behind from Windows 7 because it's not required anymore, obviously. So be back when this finishes. The driver finished installing. As you can see, everything is good now. And we used on a Lenovo a driver from HP that is actually for an Intel device. So yeah, but it worked. This is still doing stuff. Java is updating. All is well. If you upgrade from Windows 7 to Windows 10 and then you do disk cleanup and include system files, you can free up to 30 gigabytes, maybe less, maybe even more, but in my case 30 gigabytes, which is good. Let's free them. And it will tell me at some point that if I continue with this, it will not be able to uninstall Windows 10. I don't want to uninstall it. I will stick with Windows 10. I don't want to go back to Windows 7. So exactly now it's telling me that. Are you sure you want to do this? Yes, go. Okay guys, and it's finished, running perfectly. Windows 10, only 130 watts charger, not heating up. Everything is exactly as it should be, and it's running Windows 10 really well and really nicely. So yeah, really happy about it. All drivers installed, zero problems. And that's about it for this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, in which case please give it a like, check out my other videos, subscribe to my channel, and see you in the next one. Bye! Just as an afterthought, I realized I completely forgot to tell you the inputs and outputs on the front of this thing. It has an SD card reader, obviously, and if we go higher, it has audio out, microphone in, and 2 USB ports, and this is a full-size optical drive. And again, full-size hard drive inside. So for this tiny form factor, this being full size and higher speed, really nice thing. Good on you, Lenovo. Really good job with this thing.